Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Warmup, streaming live on WFSB Plus. I'm Marc Robbins. That young man, and he's a young man, Dan Booth. Dan, we're into the postseason now.
Indeed, we are. It's a wonderful thing. It's a great time of the year. I'm going to a few games tonight. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait. This is the fun time.
It's absolutely some of the best fun and best times that we have during the athletic seasons tonight. And really, it started snow, notwithstanding. It started earlier in the week, actually started last weekend. We have conference tournament play, which has zero effect, for those of you out there that don't know, on seeding and anything as far as the CIAC tournament. And those pairings, first-round pairings, will be coming out shortly because that begins a week from now, or a week and a day from now, next week from the CIAC. So it's purely for bragging rights in the conference this week.
And sometimes I've found over the years, and you probably have too, that's where you get some of the best basketball, because you have all those rivalries. You have, all the grudges from throughout the season, all the smack talk, especially, in today's era with social media and everything going on, like a lot of it going back and forth all over the place. And yeah, man, like I said, this is a fun time of the year for a lot of reasons. And you can also gain a lot of momentum during this time too, going into the state tournament, to be able to capitalize on a lot of that moving forward.
Yeah, the results don't count, but that doesn't mean the momentum doesn't have an effect, as Dan points out. And this is also a time where it's usually a third matchup between schools. They've played a couple times in the year, so it's awfully difficult, the old adage, to beat a team 3 times in a row, and that happens all throughout conference tournament play. But let's take a look at the top 10 for girls basketball in the state of Connecticut, and we begin with a new entry, the Eagles of Enfield, after knocking off Windsor last week in the regular season finale, 17-3. What a great season Enfield's had.
And you want to be playing your best ball this time of the year. Anytime we're talking about a new team coming into the top 10 at this time of the year, it's probably because they've been knocking on the door for a little while, but now you're picking up some signature wins down the stretch, like that win against Windsor. Enfield, good team to look out for.
Yes, and Enfield and the CCC will be playing in conference tournament play. And then, of course, next week we'll see what kind of a seed they get. Still a couple of regular season games sprinkled in throughout the state. That's why the CIAC still has to wait for those regular season games to be complete among the 20 that you get. And then they can put together the power rankings, if you will, and seed the 5 divisions in the boys and 5 in the girls. Number 9 in the girls, on the girls' side of things, Ansonia. And you've seen this team, Dan, and they've been playing well at the end of the year, but really all through.
All the season long, they've been a team that has been, I've said a million times, fun to watch, but that atmosphere that they play with on their home court, it is extremely difficult to beat them at Ansonia. And they're a team that, once again, a lot of momentum, a lot of talent, a lot of big wins this year. A team that really is starting to play some great ball. A couple of losses here and there down the stretch, or one loss here down the stretch, rather. But one of those teams that is definitely going to be keeping an eye on moving forward.
Yeah, the number 2 seed in the Naugatuck Valley tournament, and the semifinals are set for tomorrow in Torrington. So Ansonia will be the 2 seed. 1 seed is Seymour, a team that Ansonia beat most recently in Ansonia. All right, number 8 in the girls' top 10, Trumbull, and the FCAC is just so powerful year in and year out. Trumbull having a wonderful year, getting ready for the FCAC postseason tournament, and then could go very deep in Division I.
And we've talked about that conference in general in the past, right? Where, it's iron sharpens iron, a lot of talent there too, and once again, opportunities to gain momentum, opportunities to gain confidence, which is huge this time of the year, being able to execute in big moments. And, they're going to have the opportunity to show themselves definitely the last couple of games or last game of the regular season going into the conference tournament for them. Number
7 in the girls' top 10 here in the warm-up show for this week, Coventry, another outstanding record for Coventry, a 2-loss team. One of the losses is to Rocky Hill, which is way up in our poll. So Coventry figures the Patriots to make a deep run. I think they are also in Division 5.
And they're one of those teams too where, you mentioned Rocky Hill. if you only have 2 losses on the season and one of them is to a team that's been in our top 2, top 3 for basically the entire season, the majority of it at least, it says you're doing something pretty well. So, it's been fun to watch them and keep an eye on them too, for sure, because Coventry, not bad. Not too bad at all.
From number 7, of course, we go to number 6 in the girls' top 10. Sacred Heart Academy had some out-of-state losses early in the season, and the Sharks circling their overall record. They took out some of those were, I guess, deemed exhibitions, so they only played 17 real games, but 15-2 overall.
I talked about it a little bit last week with them. Pace, loads of talent coming off the bench, and you can tell that they play with the chemistry and, a shooting prowess around the perimeter, too, that I think is pretty impressive. So, once again, returning state champion trying to defend their title from last year, and they should have an opportunity to do that, know how well they're playing right now, and knowing how things are setting up for them down the line.
Really strong in Division I, as it should be, and Sacred Heart is right there trying, as Dan said, to defend its title. Number 5 in the warm-up top 10, Greenwich, the Cardinals from the FCAC, getting ready to play in FCAC tournament play at 17-2. Losses, I believe, to Staples and Trumbull. 2
teams who, once again, we've been talking about a lot over the year, and it's. I feel like Greenwich is good in a lot of sports, if that makes sense.
Yes,
they're pretty good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
And something I've talked to.
Nothing gets by you.
No, listen. I was traveling down there every week for football this season. The thing I think is interesting about Greenwich is you can kind of see, and I've talked to not necessarily Greenwich about this, but other schools, when other programs on campus are doing well, it ratchets up the intensity for all the other teams on campus to try to ante up everybody else and keep moving forward. And clearly that's translating to basketball season too.
Greenwich 17-2, number 5 in our warm-up poll. Number 4, Mercy, the Mercy Tigers, and they had their back-to-back losses very early in the season. One of them, of course, the Sacred Heart Academy. Now at 18-2, Tim Coe's working on the next 600. He's got 3 or 4 already post-600 career victories as a coach. There he is, and these kids his teams yearly get better and better as the season goes on.
Anytime you're talking about a team that's on a winning streak going into the playoffs, that could mean one or two things, right? It could mean, did you peak too early, or are you hitting your stride when it matters most? And clearly, Mercy's a team that's been able to play against great competition the whole year and has found a way to really put themselves in a solid situation going into their conference tournament.
18-2, and we're talking about maybe a third matchup in the SEC tournament final coming up on Monday. Maybe a matchup with Sacred Heart Academy in that championship game at Quinnipiac. Anyway, from number 4 to number 3 in the warm-up poll, Staples and the boys and girls, the Wreckers have wrecked the competition on both sides of the court. See, Staples girls, between the two, spoiler alert, those are the only 2 losses that the boys and the girls have between those 2 teams all year. So they're 37-2 combined.
It's crazy too, because I kind of just alluded to, the iron sharpens iron and really motivating each other on campus and stuff. When you feel that vibe around a program or programs, that's real. And I think I mentioned this a little bit last week, but when I was a senior in high school, our boys and girls basketball teams both made it to the Final Four in the same year. And the atmosphere was incredible. You could feel the energy feeding off each other back and forth. And Staples, killing them.
All right, from number 3, upward to number 2. And the Terriers of Rocky Hill have had an incredible season. Rocky Hill, one of our teams of the week earlier this season, and they have just done so well, knocked off previously undefeated New Britain, and are now trying to finish off a 19-1 regular season with maybe a CCC conference tournament championship, and maybe they can get it done at the state level.
And this isn't going to be any groundbreaking analysis here, but one thing I like about Rocky Hill is that they have a dog mascot that is a different type of dog than a lot of the other dogs that we typically see for mascots in a lot of different schools and colleges and whatever else, right? So, hey, the Terriers are barking right now, man. They're doing their thing.
The Terriers are feisty. Rocky Hill, 19-1, number 2 in the warm-up top 10, which brings us now to number one on the girls' side of things, and it's been number one. Northwest Catholic, the Lady Lions have been there all season long. Just an outstanding program, trying for a fourth straight state title, I believe, at 19, and won the out-of-state loss, the only blemish.
I've had a chance to see them a couple of times this year. Definitely once last year when they were on that road to winning that state championship they had last year. 3 in a row for them, going for 4, as you alluded to. And right now, they are a freight train coming at people. And I'm excited to see how they continue to take that senior leadership that they have with Abigail Casper, who was one of our athletes of the week this year. Everybody coming through and really, you can tell they're all bought in. It's a system now. And there's a little bit of pressure trying to not be the team that loses the streak, right? But that is something that they're feeding into and saying, hey, like, it's a badge of honor to even have the opportunity to be that team that has a chance to win another one, let alone have a four-peat, which is crazy.
So this year, Division I with Sacred Heart in it and Northwest Catholic, you've got 2 defending state title champions with only 1 title, but, up for grabs. Only one of them can defend or at least make it back-to-back state championships. So we'll see if either one can do it. It would be 4 in a row, of course, for Northwest Catholic. So let's take a grand look at the top 10 all in one page. As you see it all unfold right there, Northwest Catholic, Rocky Hill. Rocky Hill is not in Division I, but Staples, Mercy, Greenwich, Sacred Heart Academy, they are, as well as Trumbull as well. And Enfield, I believe, is in D2. But lots of talent, Dan.
We talked about it a little bit off the top, but, seeing a new face in there in Enfield, right? That it's nice, not only seeing a new face to some extent, but also, seeing a team that looks like they're playing some great ball right now, trying to make some noise, a little bit lower on the totem pole, but a team that's very capable of doing some damage down the stretch here.
Well, there's a look at the girls' top 10 here on the warm-up. A very talented group. And we'll see what happens as the postseason is underway, conference tournament play, and then the CIAC tournament begins next week. Same thing for the boys as we get to the boys' top 10. And Ellington getting in there, and just by their little bit of their purple hair sticking out of that helmet, because Ellington, the 46-game win streak comes to an end with a very close loss to Lime Old Lime.
And all good things must come to an end, right? That's what we say. But, it is, even with that loss, obviously it's not ideal for them to have lost that game. They want to keep the streak going and all that momentum and everything else. But, as long as they don't let it snowball, I think that they're a team that we can reasonably expect to be seriously competitive, not only in their conference, but also in the state tournament when we get that going in a couple of days. Well, not a couple of days, but, we're close.
Well, 8 days. That's less than 2 hands. So
there you go.
If you can still do it on 2 hands, then it's not too far away. Ellington, 19-1, staying in that top 10. Got all the way up, I think, to 6th with the 46-game win streak that comes to an end. Old Lime, Old Lime, an outstanding club as well on the fringe of getting into our top 10 poll on the boys' side. Number 9 for the boys, East Catholic. Boy, Luke Riley has this team humming now. Early on, developing. Had a lot of new players, a lot of new starters, and they have come alive. And the win here against Windsor, big proof.
Yeah, everybody wants to have a big win on their resume. Though, whenever those 2 teams play, it's phenomenal. If we're fortunate enough to get around 3, that'd be great. But I think that there is a lot of hype around East Catholic because they're a team that has proven that they can win big games. They've played well even in the games that they've lost, and they're a team that's flying high right now. How about them Eagles?
Big game for East Catholic. Tonight, they'll take on Newington, a sneaky good team in the quarterfinals of the CCC. Number 8 in the boys warm-up poll, and we just featured them as a team of the week last week. The Hornets of East Hartford have a big win over East Catholic on the record at 17-3, and a talented group that has worked hard to develop an identity, and right now 17-3, they look to make a run. Division 2 for East Hartford in the upcoming state tournament.
They're playing tonight, aren't they?
They have a game tonight as well.
Yes. And it's proof of concept, right? When you see a team that has proven that they can not only play well during the regular season, but come up in big spots, because they played a bunch of close games this year too. You want that this time of the year, the ability to, excel in those big moments, the opportunity to, play your best ball and get key contributions up and down your roster. That's what they're looking like right now. And they're a fun team to watch too. They really are.
East Hartford, number 8 in the boys warm-up top 10. Number 7 in our poll, Notre Dame Prep. This group, it's the former Notre Dame of Fairfield, still in Fairfield, just with little tweak to the name change. Notre Dame Prep, number 7, and 3 losses all out of state on the season for Notre Dame makes them very difficult. Again, another Division I team, and we got a lot of them in this top 10.
And I've always felt that, a lot of the teams that are fortunate enough to be able to play in those tournaments that are out of state, you get to pick up a lot of things, right? Whether it's, how other teams play in different states, whether that's, learning a lot about your players and how they can try to continue to play against better competition or tough competition in a different way. Once again, the fact that they don't have any losses in state right now, it's pretty good.
Might we get a Notre Dame Division I championship?
As cool as that would be a nightmare when it comes to
calling the game would be very difficult. Although you only have to remember one name.
Only the mascots. That's the only way we're going with it.
All right, so Notre Dame Prep out of Fairfield, 17-3 is number 7 in the warm-ups top 10. Number 6, North Haven, and if you can be 19-1 and still under the old radar, only lost to Woodland, I think this Nighthawks team is.
And I had the chance to see Woodland, who I'm assuming we're going to talk about in a second. But it is, once again, to your point, that one loss, you don't want to push it under the rug because it matters and it's part of their resume. But the fact that they've been clean everywhere else says a lot about how good North Haven is. And I'm ready, man. I'm excited to see North Haven because...
Yeah, North Haven will be in the SEC tournament as well. The 6th ranked team, I should say, in our warm-up top 10. Number 5, well, look at this. We were just mentioning Woodland, an undefeated group of Woodland Hawks who got that big win on the road at North Haven in the Battle of Unbeatens about 3 weeks ago, and we've both seen this team, Dan, and we're both impressed.
They're exciting because they just run. They're one of those teams that just runs. They play with tempo. They play with great pace. And, they set up that they put their players in a position to have success from, and I think something we talked a little bit about with UConn a while earlier in the season for the men is when their defense locks up and you get guys running on the outside and allow them to really push the pace and create more transition threes and really keep the opposing team on edge like we saw last night against St. John's, that is a recipe for success. And that's what Woodland has done time in and time out, hence 20-0.
Yes, number 5, Woodland, the Hawks, a division, I want to say 4. It's hard to remember. 5 divisions for both the boys and the girls, but at number 5, 20-0 in our warm-up poll this week. At number 4, and West Haven had the early loss to Notre Dame West Haven, and then has been really doing an outstanding job throughout its regular season. The Blue Devils do have a couple of losses, but they're going to be a factor in the SEC, and they're going to be a factor. They are a D1 team in the state tournament as well.
I haven't had a chance to see them play in person this year, but from conversations that we've had and different things we've seen on FNF throughout the entire season, they seem like a fun team.
Yeah. West Haven is number 4. The Blue Devils check in on the warm-up in that spot. Now, number 3, and Windsor is licking its wounds a little bit from the arch rival rematch in which they lost at home to East Catholic. They might get a third opportunity against East Catholic in the CCC tournament.
And if they do, that is must-see action, period. Because both of those games were insane. It was exciting from start to finish. And, Masani Brown and everybody they've got rolling over there at Windsor, they are a team that is dangerous because they have a good presence in the paint, and they also have a lot of athleticism on the wing that really allows them to keep applying pressure.
Be interesting to see. Windsor, a Division II team in the state tournament. We could get into that because they just shouldn't be. But I think we'll leave it for I don't know. Do you agree they should be in the top division? We'll broach the subject.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean, yeah. Listen, we could be here all day talking about that. I don't know. I just feel like in terms of population, but also it's tricky with some of the private schools and some of the other schools that are around. Honestly, you've been here longer than I have, and I think that you would probably have more insight.
On this earth or in Connecticut? Both.
Combination of both, I guess. But I don't know. I think that they're a team that honestly, regardless of what division they're in, they've played really well, and we'll see where things go from here. But
yeah, people know. I mean, they ooze athleticism in that town, in that city. So they should be at the highest level of in all sports across the board. They should be playing at the highest, most elite level in Connecticut for high school sports. Number 2 on the warm-up, Staples. And here is another undefeated team. And there aren't many of them. But Staples is, in fact, our top team is not out of state, if you include out of state, which we do. But Staples went 20-0 in the FCAC.
And once again, we talked about that conference, and we've talked about the hurdles and everything that they've faced too. I'm sorry, just to clarify, what division are they in?
Now, I got to look. Staples, I believe, is in Division II as well.
Yeah, so that's because I didn't think they were in one.
It's never, I shouldn't say never, but it's not known as a basketball power over the last 20, 30 years, whereas Windsor and Hillhouse and all, those schools. But Staples is a football school, a soccer school, a baseball school, and basketball. Even the Staples alums would agree would probably be 4th best on the boys' side.
You wouldn't know that this year with how the boys and the girls teams are playing, and also once again 20-0, you got to respect it. The 0 on the loss column.
Looked it up, Division I.
There you go.
Just told.
All right, so you know what?
Thank you.
So if we're on a potential collision course between our number 1 and number 2 teams, we're going to learn a lot about how good Staples is when the time comes.
Yes.
But, it'll be exciting. I know I've said it a million times. I am really excited about all of this stuff because when you cover teams throughout the season, you get a glimpse of kind of what they can be. Right? Little things that they do well across the board, and thinking about down the line what they could be like when they actually have a chance to play against other teams that they might not play during the regular season. And that's another reason why I'm excited to see this upcoming matchup, potentially where things go in the state tournament.
Well, to me, it's very exciting as well, because being number 2 and in Division I and ranked 2nd in our state poll, they might get a chance to meet our number 1 team, as we talked about, and also in Division I, the defending champs of the toughest division in boys high school basketball. That's Notre Dame West Haven, finishing up a tremendous 17-3 year. And again, all 3 losses out of state. Abdu Torre, who's now, he is playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He did not get an invitation to the McDonald's All-American.
I heard that.
And he's being very mature about it. He's being very matter-of-fact about it. He's going to some other games, the Iverson game, the Jordan Brand game. But of course, the McDonald's is the biggest and most well-known. Did not get an invitation. He got an invitation to Arkansas with a lot of NIL money. So he's happy about that. And he is one of the top 10 players in the country from what the players I've seen.
And I think whenever you're talking about a team that's led by someone like Abu Torre, you ask yourself, and you talked about this when you did their game of the week a while back, it was early in the season, what can that one player bring? And can the attraction that everybody has to look at him, everybody has to focus on him on the defensive end, or when he's on offense, rather, dealing with him, can other players create? Can other players create their own shots when they get one-on-one opportunities? Can they knock down those jumpers that they're going to have a little bit more space for just because a guy like Abdul is out there doing their thing? And so far, they've proven that they can do that consistently. And that, knowing how well they played last year, how well they're playing this year, the chip on their shoulder that Abdul has. I at my last job when I was working in Augusta, Georgia, I had the chance to cover Darion Reed, who was a McDonald's All-American. He was ranked in the top 10 on ESPN's, top 100 basketball poll for all their prospects, I believe, in the class of 2024. And he plays at Oklahoma now. And you can tell when there are players like that get those invites, that is a huge badge of honor, because you think of all the players that have played in those games over the years. Mm-hmm. Like I remember, I'm going to say one of the first ones I've watched, but I remember when LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony and, you can keep going, all the amazing players that have played, the future Hall of Famers, if not Hall of Famers right now, played in those games. So it is something that, to your point, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and that could be a very dangerous thing for everybody else in this state tournament when the time comes.
Yes, and that time is coming very, very shortly, as the state tournament will begin at the end of next week, the first full week of the month of March, and of course it will end with the run to the sun at Mohegan Sun, and again 10 championship games on that. I think it's the 22nd and 23rd of March, the Saturday and Sunday, 5 each day. And of course we'll be there between Dan, Joe, and Joe Zone and myself. We will have it covered and do a great job bringing you highlights on WFSB Channel 3, and it'll be on the Wax and all sorts of places. So we're excited about that. Let's take a look at the top 10, full screen of it, and there it is. And Dan, I'll let you look at that, and you give me a team, that maybe at the bottom 5 that might wind up with a state championship.
Well, what's interesting is that now that we're at this point in the season, there is a very strong likelihood that we are looking at the 5 state champions on the boys' side on this list right now. There's a possibility. You never know, but there's a possibility of that.
If we have them in 5 different divisions, I should look that up. I know Prep and Staples and Notre Dame West Haven are all in Division 1, and I believe East Catholic is in Division 1 too. So, and West Haven is as well. So I don't. We might have enough. But I know, to your point.
Case in point,
yes.
We're at the time in the season now where we know who the big dogs are. We know who's barking. We know who's out here trying to, solidify their legacies and put their name in the record books and bring home a state championship to their respective schools and their respective communities. When it comes to the bottom 5, I think Ellington is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because
Division 3, I know for sure.
And that
moved up from 4. They won it in 4.
Yeah, and I think for me, when you look at a team like Ellington, who, if they could find a way to once again stop the bleeding and shake off that loss, and find a way to start playing their ball again a little bit more and get going later in the postseason, they could be a team once again that we could be talking about at Mohegan Sun, trying to win state again. And I also think you've seen East Catholic more than I have. I think East Catholic's a pretty solid team too.
Yes, I do too, very much so. And East Hartford as well. Let's take a look at couple of the featured games. No game of the week this week, but we will feature our 5th-ranked boys team, Woodland, in the Naugatuck Valley League tournament, and our number 9 girls in the Naugatuck Valley League conference tournament, amongst many other games on F&F Friday night, 11:15 on WFSB. That's going to wrap things up for the warm-up for this week. Dan, it's been a lot of fun.
Like I said, let's just, enjoy this, because this is the time of the year where the competition gets absolutely at its peak, and just, I've said it a million times, can't wait. Let's do this.
Yes, the madness is about to really get going, and we're here for all of it. Thanks so much for joining us on the warm-up. For Dan, I'm Mark. Don't forget Joe Zone. We'll be with you soon. Thanks for watching.